Today we're here with Kiyan with In Depth with Sifu John, episode 5. She specializes in people-based solutions, problem solving. Basically, she fixes shit. She also retunes people and does corporate coaching. My favorite part about her is that she is actually a counter-terrorist as well. So welcome, Kiyan.
Hi.
So for our audience, I'd like to start off with, could you please just give us your, 5-minute origin story so everyone kind of gets to know more about you?
My origin story. All right. So where do I start? I was born in Hong Kong and I came over here when I was quite young, did most of my schooling over here, decided I wanted...
You were born in Hong Kong?
I was born in Hong Kong.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Speak, read and write still, unfortunately.
Cantonese. How about Mandarin?
Cantonese. A little bit of Mandarin, but
Yeah.
I got put through 11 years of formal Chinese school over here. I gave up all of my
really?
Sundays. Yeah, all those birthday parties I wanted to go to at Macca's.
Oh my goodness.
My parents said no.
No. So no Maccas?
No Macca's.
No sec fun at Maccas, eh?
No, definitely no fun at Macca's. Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
So I decided I wanted to be a lawyer for some unknown reason. I think it was because I was argumentative and I talk a lot. Mm-hmm. And then I got into law school. Was dead set going to be a barrister. Was dead set going to be, get law degrees in 3 different countries, be a kick-ass person, and just...
Like The Good Wife or Harvey Specter.
Yeah, just be one of those people, a handful of people have that kind of level of credentials and go kick ass, go save the world.
Yeah.
And then I got partway through my degree and I was dabbling in some coaching and mentoring and I fell in love with it and fell into a really, really good business. And that's when I really started rethinking, well, do I actually want to be a lawyer or can I offer more? Now, I've got lots of friends and colleagues that are in the legal profession and I have the utmost respect for the work that they do. For me, I just didn't find that it was a good fit.
Yep.
And so I decided that I wanted to pursue, standing at this crossroad, I wanted to pursue this mentoring coaching aspect that I was really passionate about. And I found what actually happened was a lot of my legal training 100% inspired the structures in the organisations that I used to then impact people, which I used to retune them. And then it just grew from there. And I started my own consultancy called A+ Solutions, and it sort of just exploded from there. And now I go about basically providing people-based solutions. So I don't think it's enough to sort of just look at the numbers or look at the legal side. Anyone can do that. What I really want to do is provide solutions that are multidisciplinary. So not just factoring in the legal and the business side, but also how do we actually deal with it? At the end of the day, a company is people. So that's really my jam. It's fixing shit. It's fixing people shit. It's retuning. Most people, they know what they're supposed to be doing.
So that would be on a corporate macro level, but also on an individual micro level. You'd be doing that. Okay.
And it's people from all walks of life. Like, you can get your fresh-eyed, 21-year-old grad that wants to get their first job, and it's hella scary. And how do we get that? How do we reach them at a people level? Not just, here's your resume, here's what you put on it, but how do we actually coach them? How do we get them to find their peace and to find their... get them in their element when they're in an interview. Then you've got, maybe a 53-year-old husband who's got a mortgage and family and kids and everything. How do we help them transition into the career that they want so they feel more at peace with their life?
Okay, got it. So it sounds like a lot of the coaching is leading into the career and the professional development of a person as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that career development is, we all have jobs.
Yeah.
We spend a big portion of our time there.
Huge portion,
yeah. So I think it's really important for someone to actually have autonomy and control, take courage of what they do. So for me, my life motto is I do things because I want to, not because I have to. But I have to admit.
Good motto.
It's a powerful motto, but it does come at a price. And that's what I try to instill in my clients, to understand that your choices, they're not sacrifices, they are choices.
Okay.
And in that sense, you have to put yourself in the position to do your best work where you do have autonomy, and that's not easy.
Yeah, for sure. No, good. There's definitely some ways what you specialize in is going to be helping the guys that listen in, because we're all about mindset, meditation, motivation. Some martial arts, sure. As a counter-terrorist, you haven't done any martial arts training?
No, except for my ninja training that I won't talk about.
Okay, so we'll keep that till next time.
Next time.
Cool. So there's definitely something there. I want to link into something you just said, like you do things because you want to, not because you have to.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, we do spend a lot of time at work. was like 70% of our life or some shit, like
Yeah.
something crazy like that.
Unfortunately, it is a large portion of time.
Yeah, I'm of the belief that we should be doing something that we love. You might as well love 70% of your life, right?
Yeah,
Does make sense?
that is literally the mindset that I want to instill in people. If
Okay.
you're going to spend 70% of your life
Yep.
being miserable,
Yep.
how happy are you going to be?
Yeah.
And
30% max.
Yeah, pretty much. And that really influences everything else. Like, people think that it's a 9-to-5 job, but who has a 9-to-5 job that they could well and truly, honest to God, say it's discreetly kept 9-to-5 or 8-to-5?
Yeah.
Because if you're grumpy, something's happening to you at work.
Yeah.
It's going to come home. It's going to affect your kids.
Outside of
et
work
cetera.
hours. Got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Okay, so so I'm Steve. I was going to say Jobs, but not Steve Jobs. I'm Steve Steve Smith, and I've got, I'm in a career which I'm not really sure I want to do, but I want to get into something I'm passionate about. How could you help me? What would you say to me?
I think that a lot of people need to work on their clarity.
Clarity.
When I approach people, I actually have to spend half my time battling down their defense mechanisms, because they're like, I want to do this, but I can't do that. It's actually a lot of wading through baggage.
Okay.
And that's part of the human psyche. It's a part of actually approaching
Yep.
the kind of where they are. So they'll be like, I want to do this. And it's sort of, imagine that you're walking in a maze, right? You've got this guided maze, and the destination's in the middle. That's where the prize is.
Okay.
You just sort of spend a bit of time walking in
Yeah.
and out, dead
Yeah.
ends. You don't know where you're going, really. And eventually you get to the middle and you're like, that's what you want to do.
Okay.
So I think that's the first powerful moment. Now,
Okay.
it can help to have someone that's sort of gone through this process before to sort of go, well, do you really want to go down that one? Or, why don't we bring it back on track?
Yeah.
Once we get that clarity, then it's about, well, the steps. So you're here. This is where you want to be. My job is to go, well, here are the steps in between, and here's how we facilitate you doing them. And you know what? To be honest, a lot of people know what they need to do, but that actioning, that crunch time, that getting
Okay,
it done,
got it.
that's really where I step in.
Okay.
And that's where most of the problems actually lie, because people don't feel like they have that agency, they don't think like they're able. And a lot of that is retuning people. That's really what I'm passionate about. People are valuable in themselves intrinsically. They have so much potential, but I do believe that there is a way to optimize them
Yep.
towards their goals.
Okay, good. So you've helped someone in this labyrinth. They're in that maze. They've found that clarity in the middle, and then we need to give them the steps. Sometimes they kind of know it, but it's about you getting them to take action. But let's just say they don't know. They know now, okay, I want to be, I want to sell red boots for the rest of my life, and that's their passion. They've got that clarity now. What would be the action steps you put in place to help those persons? Like, if someone out there's listening now, how would you take them through those steps?
For me, I would really want them to be visiting, say, in 5 years' time. Where do you want to be? Like, when you get out of this maze, what are your next steps? So, we've made it to the center of the maze.
Yep.
We now have to get you back out, and the steps to get back out. And then when you come out, we want you to be a changed person. We want you to be happier with that version of yourself when we walked in. So there could be a variety of strategies that we take.
Okay.
And I'll speak generally, but, we could be looking at understanding childhood development issues, current stress or medical conditions.
Okay.
What's holding you back?
Yep, got it.
So that's one thing.
Yep, understand.
There's other really structural stuff outside of that. Like, I have a background as a business coach, and helping a lot of small, medium businesses and startups. And I don't really focus as much on the, this is what profit and loss looks like. I obviously support people through that, but it's actually about how do you package people, how do you position people around that profit and loss statement? How do we do something about it, and how do we get people to internalize it? And so it's the same process here. Business coaching in the sense of, well, where do we start? Fine, you need capital. Fine, your business isn't doing so well. We need stock. What do we do?
Okay, cool. So it sounded like there was two parts there. One part was actually looking at their psychology and their mindset. So what kind of emotional baggage do they have? What might be preventing them mentally or emotionally? And then the next part was the actual practical business stuff. Okay, do I need capital? What do I need to do? What's my next step business? Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. Like, I believe that people in the world, like, this is definitely simplifying things, but most people hold two energies or two aspects to them, and one of them is logic and one of them is emotion. Statistically speaking, most of the people out in the general population are more emotion-based people over logic. And it's about retuning it. It's not about changing their identity. It's not about, blank slating them. It's about helping them learn when they can flick it off, when they can flick it on, as it suits them. Now, anyone would know too much logic or too much emotion it's a recipe for disaster. But when you can find that perfect formula for that particular person, for that particular endeavor, that's when you know you've struck gold. There's no formula for everyone.
Okay.
But I do believe there's a specific formula for each person.
Okay, got it. Okay, so you really need to actually take a look under the hood of each person to know what you'd actually be giving to them as a plan for moving forward. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it's more a surgical precision exercise than it is, you know, your ER department, your triaging. You don't really know what you're going into.
Yeah.
This is really someone that's going into like a specialist and going like, you've got this specific condition and we need to tweak that specific bit. You know, you need your vaccine. You know, if you've been bitten by a snake, you want to know which snake you've been bitten by.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can try all the vaccines in the world, but you'll probably be dead before you fix the problem.
Yeah,
and that's really about it. I think that the vaccine, your solution, so to speak, needs to actually befit the problem.
Yeah, agreed.
And that will solve not just your mental issues and mindset issues, but also your life satisfaction issues.
Got it, understand. So talk to me more about retuning, because I've heard that word come up a lot with you. Someone comes to you, they want to be retuned, or is that something they don't even know yet? What is the retuning?
Well, for me, retuning was a really important concept that I've developed through experience.
Yep.
You know, people are like, you know, I feel like a changed person and this and that. And one day I just sat there and went, well, are you really a changed person? Are you a new person? And for me, that language is actually really powerful. For me, retuning means I preserve the core essence of someone's character or personality. Ethically speaking, that is a really important thing that I really abide by in my work, to make sure that person hasn't been changed or tainted by what I think should happen. But my job is just to optimize them, to retune them so that they're more efficient.
Okay.
But they are essentially the same core structure with their you know, their beliefs, their past, their baggage and their future. We're just looking at, well, how can we retune you, make you more effective and bring alignment. I think that's really what it is.
Okay. So aligning them more with their own core values and their essence, so they're more efficient and effective in their life. Is that a way of summarizing it?
Yeah, clarity, retuning,
got it.
Getting shit done, that's my jam.
Get it. Okay. So, I really want to deliver some value to the guys on the back end of the podcast, but also on YouTube if they're watching, or wherever they're picking this up, whether it's Facebook or whatever platform it is. So I'm someone coming to you. I want some retuning. I feel like I need it. What could I implement? Or what could the guys on the back end of this, from what you say today, implement now, or over the next however long, week or two, so that they can feel some kind of benefit from the way you'd help them?
Yeah, of course. I would be coming back to what I mentioned earlier. I would be coming back to a 5-year plan. And the reason I pick 5 years is because it's far enough in advance that, you know, you can make changes. Things can change and life does change. You know, if you pick 1 year, you know, you've got to start moving pretty soon and things are going to have an impact. But, you know, it's also close enough. It's not 10 years that it's so intangible that you lose motivation.
Got it.
I would grab that image in your mind. But I don't just want you to go, I am going to be a CEO of Apple, or I am going to be, you know, senior partner at such and such firm. I want you to think, I want you to close your eyes and really think, hold in your mind, who are you with, right? Who are you with? What do you see? What do you feel? And I want you to be really open and creative about this. This is not an exercise where you're going to be judged. It's not an exercise where there's a right or wrong answer. But the more honest you are with yourself, the more effective it is. So, for example, you know, I have clients coming to me and they'll say, I would like to no longer worry about my kids not being able to have clothes on their backs. They're like, I really want to change career, but I can't do that to my family. So there's so much to unpack there. Like, you know, are you feeling joy from your kids? Are you feeling worn out? Maybe they don't want to feel the stress or the burden of having to provide anymore. So really delving into all of that stuff. So who are you with? Are you, you know, at the end of this, say someone wants a really high-flying corporate career, at the end of that, do you still have your partner and your kids with you? So for me personally, having made these decisions and gone through this same process myself, I said to myself, if my husband Jason wasn't there at the end of the day, then it was all for nothing. It wasn't worth it. And it sounds like a pretty big statement, but for me, one of my core values is relationships. It's pack. So I have a little pack. It's my husband Jason and my therapy dog Toby One Kenobi. And that is our core. The pack, the center must always hold. And everything else is built around that. Our friends, extended family. And for me, there is no point having success if there's no one to share it with. Now that might be completely different for someone else. But start thinking about this. Coming back to what I was saying with that 5-year plan, don't just think, this is my job title.
I find that fascinating that when you said, okay, because it's something happening that we actually do as well in our process, that when you said 5-year plan, the first thing you looked at was, who are you with?
Yeah.
That was something I picked up when I read the book. What was it called? It will come to me. Good to Great. Have you read the book Good to Great?
No, I
Jim
haven't.
Collins.
No.
And the first thing, the first principle in the book is first who, then what. So it's like, what kind of people do you want around you? Find that team, that core essence of the business or the pack, as you put it, and then have the what emanate from that. So it lines up with what you're saying and the way we approach things as well. So, but it's fascinating because a lot of the time I speak to business coaches and they'll say, look at your 5 or your 10 or your 50 year or whatever it is, and they'll go straight into values and vision, not the who. And I think that's a good start. Okay, good. So from what you were saying to them, so guys out there listening, you're supposed to close your eyes, see yourself in 5 years and see who you're with.
Use your senses and trust your gut.
I think a lot of the guys will just see hot women. I'm kidding.
Yeah, and you know what? That is fine. That is totally fine.
Right, Daniel, sir?
I've got a nice grunt from him. But you need to actually trust your gut. This is not just to close your eyes, we're sitting in the doctor's office and tell me the first word that pops into your mind. This is really you. I want your brain to actually, your mind to, and your energy to actually follow through this scenario. You've just picked a spot somewhere in 5 years' time. I want your mind and your energy to follow that. Follow that through. What happens next? What are you sensing? Why do you want to be here? How does this reflect you, your identity? How does it reflect your values? I think values and vision are very valuable. 100%, absolutely. Yeah. But I do also think that the who is important too, because we are social creatures. We are pack creatures. And, to varying degrees, introverts, extroverts, X, Y, Z. I think our success does depend on our bonds with the people around us.
Definitely.
I'm a really, really big advocate of networking. And so you need to think about that. Who are the people that are going to help you get there? Unless you can get there on your own, in which case I usually ask, well, why haven't you? You really need to think about using your pack.
No one can get anywhere on their own.
Yeah, that's it.
It's just not possible.
That's it.
I mean, did you
learn that signal?
Yeah, in Hong Kong. Like the seat that you're sitting on was made by someone. Your house was built by another person. Everything depends on each other. Even more so in your own professional growth as well. And
that's why I've really taken to this idea of pack mentality. We have tribes and we have all sorts of other social constructs that we like to use, but the pack is something that's resonated with me because pack ensures survival, ensures success, and every pack member has their value, has their place. You can't have every single person in your life be equally as important. You can't be there for absolutely every single person. You choose your pack. You choose your extended pack, and you really try to give the most value to those that you choose to. Like, I didn't come out really well, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it makes sense. That makes sense. So you've suggested that they visualize themselves 5 years down the track. They see the who, they start to see what's going on, and they feel why they're doing it, and they line it up in that way. Now that they've done that, what's next?
So now that they've done that, you need to ask, well, it's almost like, when we were kids, we used to play spot the difference. You know, you get two similar pictures and there'd be, different colors on there, slightly different detail. Maybe there's a car in that one and a tree in that one. And you're supposed to spot the difference. And I think a really useful exercise sometimes is to hold those images, go, well, what's different about my life? Why would that be an improvement? Maybe it's not an improvement. And that's a question that people that often don't ask. They're like, just because I thought it and I dreamt it up, maybe that's a good thing. It must be a good thing, but maybe it's not. No. You actually need to ask questions in both directions. Otherwise, you're only really assuming one outcome. Yeah,
you're right. No, that's cool. It's funny. When I left the house just now, I was putting the boys to bed. Joshua was playing Spot the Difference.
Literally. He's got business coaching. He's got coaching in him. This.
That's a really good analogy. And I like how you put it because, a lot of the time you're right, people envision things, but not everything that shines is gold. I got a lot of people I know where they're like, oh, there's this business idea, there's this. Now I'm a travel agent. Now I'm doing this. And it's just like, but is that really what you want?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think there is some humility in this exercise as well. So A lot of my time is actually spent mentoring HSC students.
Okay.
You know, a lot of my clientele are elite athletes, gifted students. Unfortunately, some have medical conditions or family issues as well. But I've seen people from all runs of life. And I think the one thing that we often underestimate is the simplicity of when we were in childhood. Now, this carries across to the corporate world as well. We assume now in our flashy corporate world with all our technology that all that stuff that worked for us when we were kids, you know, the finder words, the crosswords, the spot the difference, oh, we're too sophisticated for that. You know, and I think that's an arrogance that's going to mislead people. Sometimes the simplicity, you know, the exercises that worked so well when we were children, there is no reason to think we couldn't even just use them better now that we're older and wiser and have other skills under our belt. But a lot of people, you know, some people, they're like, oh, I don't want to do that. That's so childish. I'm like, but can you make yourself do it? Because that's a whole level of mental control. Can you swallow that pride? Can you remember that place? Because when you're a child, you're not plagued by all of the stresses and the vicissitudes of life that you are today. You are a lot more free to really envisage your life when you're a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old. Imagine, you know, the joy of just running down a field playing sports because you wanted to without having to perform as a star athlete. It can really change people's performance.
Okay. So I agree with what you're saying. That's very true because kids are so free and liberated in the moment. And so everything's, you know, like the world's their oyster, so to speak. How would you get someone to apply that into life? Would you give them a crossword and say, do it? Or like, what would you, like, would there be a practical example you could give to the guys listening? Like something they could do to get that mindset going?
Yeah, I mean, this is a strange one, but I have a lot of clients in very high stress situations that are expected to learn keywords or key phrases for their public addresses or for their examinations or for an interview. And one of the things that I get them to do is I'll give them a finder word. I'll give them a crossword. And it'll have the clues on there. It'll have, you know, the words that you're supposed to be looking for. And I said, you are so wide right now. Can you please go and be a 5-year-old? Here's a crayon. Go be a 5-year-old. And it sounds like a really strange exercise, but I think sometimes we just need to actually stick a spanner in that turning cog and go, nah, enough is enough. We're jump starting this because this is actually not getting me to be in a healthy place. If someone's escalating, they will not be giving their best performance.
Interesting little spanner. I like it. It's good. Give them a fucking crown and
I am
say,
retuning people.
No, I get it. I get it. No, it makes sense because they're moving. They're moving in a certain direction, and you want to like get the brain firing in a different way. So you go do this, go do that. Interesting. Do you relate it to like the things that they used to like when they were a kid, or just anything?
No, it doesn't have to be as complex as that. Like when you look at certain disciplines. So, for example, I've recently taken up long distance target rifle shooting. So I shoot at
counter-terrorist.
Yeah. So I will shoot at say 300 or 400 meters.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the things about that sport that I do love is it is a sport that requires low, what we call low physical arousal. Don't get excited, guys. But high mental arousal in terms of your brain is aware of all of your surroundings and stuff. It's a whole new way to appreciate mindfulness. And I don't mean mindfulness in that sort of really clinical, overused word in the corporate setting. I mean mindfulness in its truest sense, which is just being aware of your surroundings and your place in it as well. And I found that in that sense, sorry, I forget where we were going with this.
Like, does it have to be something related to what they used to do as a child?
No,
and you're saying no, and that linked into you doing the mindfulness.
That's right. So coming back to your question of whether it has to link back to you as a child, well, certainly no child should be picking up a firearm like that. It's not about just that. It's about how do you refocus your mind. For one person, it'll be arts.
Okay,
for someone else, it's going to be target shooting.
So it doesn't really matter. Just give him a crown.
No.
On the note of shooting, Zach should probably take some lessons in you because Zach is, not so good at Halo. It's a game we play here.
Yeah, of course.
And I tend to destroy him as much as possible. Actually, I'm lying. He's beating me 2-1. You just reminded me.
Comes
That's
out.
Zach. Can you show Zach there? And can you put like a Halo like gun over his face and show me shooting him? Thank you. Okay, sorry, that was just a segue.
Nice tangent.
Sorry, just a little tangent for me. Okay, so I like that. And you were saying also that you do deal with people with stress. Now, stress and anxiety seem to be prevalent in our society with the fast pace and the achievement-based society that we have. Could you give our listeners some stress tips or things apart from throwing picking up a crown. Have you got any other tips that might alleviate some of the stress or even dig it out that you can help them with?
Well, look, I'm gonna generalize here,
Yep.
and I suppose some of what I'm gonna say is gonna be a bit controversial.
Okay.
But I actually think a lot of the stress that we have is self-generated.
Okay.
You know, I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not disregarding, you know, genuine medical conditions, and I'm not invalidating what people feel.
I agree with you 100%. Don't
For
worry.
me, for me, like, you can feel something, and I can be like, yeah, I can see that you're stressed. You know, how can we help? Doesn't mean I necessarily think that, you know, that there wasn't a cause that we could have maybe fixed or preempted. So in that sense, I think that, you know, for example, why are people so stressed about money? They only need a small amount of money to survive.
You're right. It's the way they look at it that makes it stressful.
Yeah. So again, that retuning of perspective can be really valuable. Have a look at what your values actually are. Like, why are you spending time trying to get to a $200,000, you know, income when your passion is in making pottery? And working with children and teaching them the art of pottery, maybe as a therapeutic mechanism. You don't need $200,000 to do that. You need time to do that. Okay? So think about how your values actually work. The other thing I think people do is they create more stress by not doing. It's like a clogged toilet, if you will. It just sort of builds up, and then one day it just goes everywhere. The excrement literally hits the fan. And I think that's because people have opportunities that are in front of them, and for whatever reason, they don't feel like they're able to act. And so an opportunity goes by, and then it happens again and again. And it actually retrains the brain to view life in a particular way. So I think if you are able to work on that, and there's obviously a lot of work to be done on that, it can alleviate stress.
So you mean take action? Basically.
Yeah, just take action because
on something towards.
At least you are moving.
Yeah, at least better be moving than sitting still for sure.
Yeah.
And if you take a step back to you saying, like, look at your values, like, you know, for example, the $200,000 example, if they don't need to earn that much if they just want to be doing pottery with their kids. How does someone implement that? You know, because like I'm just thinking, how does Lisa sitting at home, she's thinking, okay, I want to do that. How do I do that now? How do I actually look at my values in order to stop stressing? Because she probably, let's say she, for example, is feeling a stress based off that issue. What could she do?
Well, a really useful way to do that is Google. We've got so much technology at our fingertips, right? I would go and Google up some personal core value traits, right?
Okay.
I would go and there are lists out there, and I've run this exercise with many of my clients, and just ponder what resonates with you, what doesn't. Go print off a couple of sheets, go highlight it like a kid.
Got it.
Go through that. Talk to your friends and family. Ask them, what do you think my values are? What are your values? Have a dialogue about it. Your people. Okay. It's not just parts in you. This is stuff that you would have been living, that people would have seen in you.
Get it.
Now, there is crossover between your character, your personality, and values. But it'll be easy enough to sift them out once you have a conversation or two. That's where I would start. And in terms of finding clarity,
actually finding out what they are. That's what you're saying.
There is always
write a list of them.
There is always more clarity to be had. There is always more retuning. And this is the thing. I want people to know that they can retune themselves. They can design their own fate. Get there. And if they get there and they decide they want something else, we can do this all over again. Indefinitely. It really is tapping into the power of human ingenuity. Why are we so different to animals and stuff? And how can we determine our own fate in using all of the tools and resources? You look at apes, they use sticks, they use whatever. We have so many more resources than that. And I just don't think the people are really understanding and able to access that.
Okay, cool. So we've got them working on their values now. So they've got some clarity there. And they're taking action. So they've actually gotten onto Google and done something so they can tie into each other. Is there any other tips you think they might be able to apply? Or is there any other things that you'd give to the stressed out executive, for example?
I think that people need to accept that their choices and their decisions have consequences. So when a lot of people go on about, I had to sacrifice this. And you know what? In some cases, it may genuinely fit under the definition of sacrifice. But in a lot of cases that I see, it's just someone made a decision. They didn't properly think about the consequence. And here we are. So you need to understand that if you choose a short term or a long term, whichever, they're going to come with their own sets of consequences. Some more immediate, some down the track, some a little bit more uncertain. But you've got to understand that everything has a cause and an effect,
Yep.
and you need to be able to embrace that. And that is the difficult part of agency, autonomy, and taking control of your own life, that you're also in control of the consequences. You can't control everything. You can't control the market or the economy and all that kind of stuff. But I'm talking about the stuff you can. Think about control, influence, persuasion, all those things. What can you actually control?
Yep.
And what's beyond your control? Don't stress about those things.
Okay.
Start with the stuff close to you.
Got it. So accepting and taking responsibility for the things that you have done, and then also taking control of what you can control.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my opinion, the things you can control is, your intention and your attention. Everything outside of that is autonomous, in my opinion, and you can't control the
You can't
economic
control
climate.
the
I
universe.
can't control any of you people. I can't control the sun or the moon. Some people like to think they do, but they're
The best thing, I agree.
Narcissist. See the weather? I brought it here for you today. Anyway.
Very good. I would completely agree with you. The best thing you can do is be the most effective person that can take any situation that life throws at you. So if you can be fully equipped, primed, and ready, then it doesn't matter what life is going to throw at you. Yes, it's autonomous. There'll be things out of your control, but you will be in control. And those skills, that intrinsic value, that's always going to be with you. It doesn't matter what the market does. That doesn't change who you are. Tsunami could come and wipe you out. Still the same person. You'll rebuild.
Got it. Cool. All right. I know also that we have a lot of people that are listening that are finishing up school and that are going to be going for job interviews. And I know you help people for that, right?
I do.
So what would be your top tips, for little Sandra that's going for a job interview? How would you get them prepped? What would you do?
I would just tell them to take the finger out of their butt and just be prepared. Honestly, the number of people that I see that aren't prepared when an opportunity smacks them in the face and they're fumbling around for a CV. They're fumbling around for, they haven't done enough practice interviews or they haven't seen enough things. And the opportunity just walk on by. And you know what happens? The sad part is then they're like, oh man, I can't seem to get to my goal. I never seem to get anywhere. You know why? You weren't ready for it.
Yeah,
That's
for real,
it.
100%. Okay, so take your finger out of your butt and get prepared.
Yeah.
Have your CV ready and do whatever else that you need to do so that the opportunities are, okay, yeah. That reminds me of there was a girl at the gym who wanted a job at the gym, and she said it to me, and then I just kept encouraging her, and it took her like 6 months, and just before it was about to go, because of the job that was available, she just got it.
Yeah.
Right near the end.
But that could have been a different story in an alternate universe.
Yeah, exactly. But so what I'm getting at is you were right. If she had been prepared 6 months earlier, she could have had it. Then she'd have 6 months more experience, 6 months more money. Yeah.
Oh, that's 100% true. And I think it's not just about the logistical things like writing a CV and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for how you might coach someone in an interview. How do you actually perform? How do you place your body?
Okay.
How do you read? How do you read body language? How do you establish rapport?
Yeah.
Those soft skills are really what I'm interested in.
Okay.
I write people's CVs all the time.
Okay.
And I get people going, Kiyan, can you just write me a CV that speaks for itself? I'm like, no.
Mm-hmm.
You should actually be speaking for yourself. That piece of paper isn't going to do nothing. That's going to be someone's,
Toilet paper
the next day. Pretty much. It's going to be someone's scrap paper.
Yeah.
What you actually need to do.
We don't do that with CVs that are sent to us, by the way. Anyway, go on.
But, it really comes down to that presentation as well. And I think that soft skills are undervalued. And I think people need to look at their capital.
Yeah.
A lot of people are happy to spend money so that they can flick away an anxiety or something that makes them uncomfortable. But I think people need to actually have a look and go, why is it uncomfortable?
Yeah.
And should I really be disregarding that?
Okay. And coming back to the actual interview, because I know a lot of people do get nervous in interviews.
Yeah.
Like they'll say to me, literally, I'm so nervous about this interview. What would be your tip to them? How are they going to chill out? How are they going to get themselves in the zone so that they can be good, have that, have their power come out in that interview?
I think you need to understand that there are going to be things out of your control. They can ask you some really difficult questions. They can ask you, the run-of-the-mill questions, and you can be overconfident. 1,000,001 things can happen. But at the end of the day, you need to do a reasonable amount of research, okay? You need to back yourself. If you can't even convince yourself that you're a valid asset, whether on paper or in front of the mirror, you're never going to convince an employer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you need to trust yourself, back yourself. Mm-hmm. And then there are various techniques that I won't go into that actually help to soothe your nerves. They lower your fight or flight response. There's certain body posturing that you can be doing.
Okay.
So there's lots of that kind of stuff out there, but you can see how there's actually a goldmine of stuff that people aren't tapping into.
Yep.
This is really in the soft skill realm.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Whereas people are all about CVs, how many applications have you sent, how many clerkships have you applied for this year. They're numbers. And, you can stare at them all you want, but they'll only get you so far.
Yep. Okay. Get some soft skill action going.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Get soft.
Yeah. Now, is there anything at all you would like to discuss? I do have a couple more questions I'd like to ask you, but is there anything you want to bring up, any things that you think might be helpful for our listeners or viewers?
No, I think I'll let you lead, because
Okay,
you
cool.
would know your guys much better than I do.
Easy. All right. Well, my next, coming to the end because we have our next guest arriving soon.
How am I doing?
You're doing fantastic.
Got random shit to sell.
You know your shit, which is good. Who is your main client, just out of interest? Like, who would be your number one type of client that you're looking for or that you work with?
The clients I work with are people that want to change. They're just not really sure how to.
Yep. Okay.
So the people...
Would they be corporate level? Would they be
They come from
school?
all...
So that's just the thing that they need as opposed to the kind of...
Yeah, they come from all walks of life. And for me, it's really about meeting someone where they are.
Yep.
Rather than... where I think they should be at.
Okay.
And that's one of my key approaches. What makes me different to all the other practitioners out there is I look at where is this person, what do they want? But I actually spend a lot of time, understanding their needs, their desires, and their profiles. Not just psychometry, not just learning, but everything. Because my job is to actually help move some of the obstacles out of their way so that they're just focused on their path. If there's a log there, let's move that out there, the proverbial log. Let's just move that out of the way.
Got it.
And so they're focused on their path, doing what only they can do, and I'm taking care of some of the stuff on the side. And I think that's what it takes to be retuning, to really get close to the problem or to the issue at hand and give them the right solution and deliver it in the right way. So I think it's about that extra personal touch. Every coach out there is about getting to know the client and getting to know their vision, but how close are they really willing to get in terms of working alongside them? Because you know what? It's a hard yak, like trying to climb Mount Everest, trying to do whatever it is you're doing.
Yep.
You need support.
100%.
And you need that person that's going to be soft when they need to and come at you with a stick and go, why the heck haven't you done that? Here's your accountability ticket. 100. You failed.
Yep.
And be able to do that. And for every person that's different, the touch points are different. And so you need someone that's got that understanding of how humans work as well as how real life works.
Got it. Yeah, definitely. I agree with you 1,000,000% that, people need coaches. I mean, even the highest, especially the highest level performers have coaches themselves too. Now, a couple of questions left. One would be, look, part of our system is excellence, reaching for your highest level of potential.
100% with you.
That's something that we value here
YOLO.
as a company. YOLO. So what would be your kind of, 2 to 3 tips for people who want to reach for their excellence, for their highest level potential? How would you encourage, motivate, inspire, or educate them to help them on that path?
Well, I'm not really about inspiring or motivating, to be honest. My style is very direct and blunt.
Okay.
I'm just going to give it to you straight. So for me, if you're going to be reaching high, prepared to get stretched. It's not going to be comfortable all the way.
Yep.
But quite often, after some stretching, you feel better.
Okay.
You feel, a bit more limber, a bit more poised to do what you do. But stretching can hurt.
Okay.
So I think you need to be prepared that there'll be the good and there'll be the bad.
Okay.
And in terms of excellence, I think whatever you want to do, you can do it. That's been said a billion times, but you need to accept the consequences as well. So if your trade-off is I want to have a Lamborghini, right, you've got to understand that there's a path and and choices that you make to get there. Those choices, you're going to be tempted to think they're sacrifices, but really you made a decision, and this is where you are today. And if you didn't get the Lamborghini and that was what you set out to get, why didn't you? Because you made a choice somewhere along the way.
Got it.
That was all you. So I think people need to understand that. There's a lot of coaches out there that are all about inspiring and motivating. I'm all for supporting and retuning, but I think that people wrap themselves up in all of that stuff and it excuses their procrastination and inaction. I'm really about retuning people so they actually reach their goals.
Got it. Okay, awesome. So preparation, making sure you're prepared for the stretch. Awareness of consequences that may arise and taking responsibility for what does happen along the way. It sounds like, that's definitely a good programming. I mean, if that was where someone's mind's at, okay, I need to make sure I'm prepared, I need to take responsibility for, I need to be aware of what consequences may come and take responsibility for what does happen. So that makes a lot of sense.
I wouldn't be surprised if it also tapped into, I'm sure some of the martial arts elements as well. You've got to learn the basics when you're training and stuff, but Kung Fu and martial arts, there's supposed to be a way of life. You're supposed to flow with it. It's not supposed to be like, ooh, okay, well, I'll just switch it on here and there. But it's actually supposed to be your energy like coming out. And I think this is what it is. If you're going to be reaching for excellence, it needs to be your energy. It needs to be you. You need to be living it, not just waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, definitely. There definitely needs to be movement.
You need to be prepared. Like if someone hits you in the face or an opportunity hits you in the face, what are you going to do?
Yeah, 100%.
What would Sifu say?
What do you mean?
Well,
are you actually asking me, or is that rhetorical?
I am curious. What would you do if someone hit you in the face? If I hit you in the face right now?
To be fair, the last time that someone went to hit me in the face, I let them hit me. Because prior to that, I'd had a lot of fights when I was younger. I was literally a street fighter. And I'd hurt a lot of people, and I'd vowed not to hurt people anymore. So the last 3 fights I've had, I'd let people hit me. The first 2, let's say they just hit me in the face. So the first and second, they just hit me, and then they walked off because they realized, okay, this guy's a bit cooked. He's just letting me hit him. The third one, I let him hit me as well, except this time, I had my hands in my pocket. I took the hit. I was like, okay, I'm not going to help you now, because this guy I think he might have been on drugs. And long story short, and as I walked off, he'd broken my jaw. So I started crunching, and there was blood coming out, and I spat it out. So that was the last fight I had, but from now on, I'll actually block it.
Yeah, use your training.
I just did it. Like, I don't mind getting hit. It doesn't bother me. So I'd rather than be violent, I did let that happen, but I've learned not to. But that was a long time ago now. That was 12 years ago was the last fight I had. Yeah. Literally when I first opened my business. It's a strange one. You'd think I would have blocked it and taken them out.
But isn't that what we were talking about, decisions and choices and values? You chose not to.
Yeah.
You could have taken him.
Yeah.
Right? But you chose not to because it resonated with you values-wise.
100%, because my are to be unconditionally loving and non-violent. So doing so, I was aligned with my values.
And there's a cost there, isn't there? There was a broken jaw. There was some blood.
Yeah, broken jaw, blood. I spent 10 days in hospital. My jaw went really big, but it was 10 of the best days ever. I couldn't eat any food, and I was just meditating and reading, and I had a lot of, let's say, enlightening experience, which helped me with my direction to where I am today, because the mission is still the same.
So that darkness has been, that one life event, there was a cost to it, but you reflected, and I think that's something that your viewers should really learn from you in terms of taking something and reflecting. There are costs, there are wins as well. Reflect and take something away for the next time something comes up.
100%. I think, you're right on that. Every single traumatic or negative, I put those up there because they're not really traumatic or negative. Your biggest growth is inside them.
Yeah,
I found that in reflection.
100%.
Literally in every experience in my life, and even in others when you can see it, if you can actually look at the whole picture, the yin and the yang, not just the darker side of it, you'll see that your biggest growth is in it, So, you're right. Reflection is certainly helpful.
I'm with you there.
Okay. So is there anything, what would be your last, do you have a question for our listeners, or is there anything you'd like to leave them with before we finish up now?
Just trying to think. That's a really good question. I don't know.
That's all right. Take a moment and I'll pour you some tea.
Get me caffeinated.
That's it.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't really know. I've got to find something punchy. Are you a terrorist?
If you're a terrorist, please write in the comments, I am a terrorist. We'll see how many people actually write that.
That'd be very interesting.
Then you can go hunt them down.
Self-reporting.
With your long-range shooting.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I suppose if I had anything that I would ask people, it would be, what do you want, and do you really want it?
Good question.
I think that sums up our discussion. And if you do, get in touch with a coach, get in touch with your best mate.
Yeah.
Have a talk about it and work on your clarity and all those other steps we talked about. But you need to start somewhere. And I think the best way to get that dialogue going is actually just to ask yourself questions. And I mean questions with question marks at the end of it. Very
good. Awesome. Questions lead to answers. Now, where can these guys find you if they want to ask you questions, or they'd like to actually get coaching or guidance from you?
Okay, so I don't know what you guys do. Whatever. You can put my details on there or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, is it best for them to find you?
Yeah, because I don't run a website.
Or email or phone number, or maybe not phone number on here because you might have. So
we'll just put an email on there.
Okay, so email. What's your email? Let us know.
So a.plus.solutions@live.com.
a.plus.solutions@live.com. So maybe we can put that up somewhere here or there or down there somewhere. Thank you, Daniel son.
I don't run a website because I'm not that kind of coach. I'm people based. I want to
Yeah,
be face
it's
to
all good.
face
Yeah.
and all that kind of thing. So I mean, like, reach out. Like, I want to hear from you personally. I guess
Yeah.
like that's my sort of thing, negating away the website.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole, approach me personally. Don't even worry about going through a website or whatever. Email me and we'll have a coffee or something.
That's the best way, face to face. All right, thank you so much for today. Give me some love.
So much love.
It was a pleasure interviewing you and being with you today. I'm sure, and I'll see you soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Done.